So is there some secret group out there pulling all the strings? That's the big question, right? Today, we are diving deep into the Illuminati, and we're going to separate the wild myths from the even wilder reality.
I mean, you've probably heard it, right? Whispers online, big dramatic documentaries. This idea that there's a hidden group of elites controlling, well, everything, from who gets elected to what song is #1. So, is there any truth to it? Let's find out.
You look at the list of supposed members today, and it's wild. You've got pop superstars like Beyoncé and Jay-Z, even political figures like Trump. I mean, the names are everywhere. So you have to ask yourself, how on earth did a secret club from the 1700s get tangled up with modern celebrity gossip? It's a pretty big leap, isn't it?
So the story you hear today, it paints this really vivid picture, right? The idea is that we're all just puppets, and the Illuminati, they're the puppet masters, hiding behind some velvet curtain, pulling all the strings of our lives. It's the ultimate conspiracy theory.
Okay, but what if I told you this whole thing has absolutely nothing to do with pop stars, and that the real story, the original story, actually starts with this radical philosopher back in 18th century Germany? Yeah, we need to go way back.
All right, picture this. It's 1776. The American Revolution is kicking off. And over in Germany, this philosopher, Adam Weishaupt, is starting his own kind of revolution. He looks around and sees the world totally chained down by powerful monarchies and the rigid rules of the church. And he thinks, you know what? I'm going to do something about this.
So Weishaupt starts this secret group, and he calls it the Order of the Illuminati. Kind of dramatic, right? Well, the name itself comes from the Latin word Illuminatis, which literally means the enlightened. And yeah, the members really, truly believe they were smarter, more knowledgeable than pretty much everyone else.
Okay, so forget all the modern stuff about world domination. Weishaupt's Illuminati, they weren't trying to control everybody. They were actually trying to free them. Their whole mission was to challenge kings, to question the church's power, and to promote logic and reason and freedom of thought. Pretty radical for the time.
So here's the crazy part. For a group that's supposedly been running the world for centuries, the original Illuminati barely lasted a decade. Seriously. One member betrayed them, the whole thing got exposed, and by 1787, they were officially banned and basically gone. End of story? Or was it?
And then, for almost 175 years, just silence. Nothing. The Illuminati just faded away, became this little footnote in a history book, a forgotten relic of a very different time. That is, until the 1960s, when a completely different kind of cultural revolution accidentally brought the whole thing roaring back to life.
All right, so let's fast forward to the 1960s, a time of peace, love, and the rebirth of the Illuminati? I know, it sounds bizarre, but it's exactly what happened. This is where the story takes a really weird turn.
The 1960s, you have to remember, was this cultural earthquake. A whole generation just stood up and started questioning everything. War, consumerism, you name it. And right at the heart of all this was this incredible love of satire and, well, a pretty healthy disrespect for authority.
So, if you're trying to mess with the system back in the 60s, what do? Well, for a group of writers, the answer was something they called Operation Mindfuck. Seriously. And their weapon of choice? This long-forgotten secret society from the 1700s? Their whole plan was to just start blaming the Illuminati for everything. As a joke, it was the ultimate prank. But here's the thing. The prank worked a little too well. It was like a runaway train. See, it tapped into this real growing distrust people had for the government and big institutions. And then the internet came along, and it took what was basically an inside joke from some underground magazines and just supercharged it. The satire got lost, and it morphed into this massive, global conspiracy theory we know today.
And as this new version of the myth started spreading online, it needed its own language, right? A way for people to spot it in the wild. It didn't have manifestos, it had symbols. Ancient signs that were suddenly given brand new, kind of sinister meanings for a new paranoid age.
This is a perfect example. The original Illuminati, they were all about the owl of Minerva. It was a symbol for wisdom and knowledge. But the modern myth, it's completely obsessed with the all-seeing eye. You know, the one on the dollar bill. And now it's seen as the symbol of constant surveillance and control. It just shows you how much the meaning got twisted.
You see, for people who are deep into this, the world is just full of these secret signals, these little coded messages. So when a world leader, any world leader, says the phrase New World Order, well, that's not just a few words, that's a sign.
And back in 2022, a lot of people thought Joe Biden sent that message loud and clear. But, context is everything. If you actually look at the speech, it wasn't about some secret group at all. It was just about geopolitics. He was talking about all the huge shifts happening in the world at that moment. Manufacturing changing after COVID, the war in Ukraine messing with energy markets, all that stuff. The New World Order he was talking about was about global power dynamics, not a secret conspiracy. So it feels like we're living in this weird hall of mirrors, doesn't it? Where history and satire and genuine belief all get warped and reflected back at us. It really makes you wonder, how do you find your way through all that? And how do you know what's even real anymore?
There's this warning you hear from people who believe if you speak out against the powers that be, you will pay a price. And they'll point to this trail of what they see as ruined careers or even worse. Artists who talked about a secret group controlling things, and then something bad happened. Is it all just a coincidence, or is it a pattern?
So imagine you're a celebrity and suddenly everyone's accusing you of being in a secret society. What do? Well, you got a few options. You could be defiant, like Tupac. You could totally make a joke out of it, like Diljit Dosanjh with his Illuminati tour. Or you could just laugh it off. For a lot of them, humor becomes the only real defense against an accusation that's basically impossible to disprove.
So after peeling back all these layers, from a German philosopher in the 1700s to a prank in the 1960s, all the way to modern pop culture, you start to realize maybe the most important question isn't the one we started with. No, the real challenge for all of us right now is this. We are swimming in an ocean of information, misinformation, and flat-out satire. So how do you learn to separate the real signal from all of that noise? How do we find the truth in the middle of all the distractions? That's really the question we're left with, isn't it?